Thank you all so much for being here. I'm Rabbi Deborah Megdal. I'm so grateful that you're here on a Sunday night for this important commemoration. We're going to open by lighting this yellow Yizkor candle for Yom HaShoah. And if you're joining us through the live stream, or if you have one at home, you can light when you get home, or you can light now. I want to open with some words from my grandfather's testimony. And I want to acknowledge first, I'm bringing him into the room. He's been gone for 6 years now. I want to acknowledge that I'm so honored that we have survivors here who can be here. We're going to see the production by Joan Da Silva. And we also have Helena Littman Yashoff Peabody. I hope I said that right. So we're so honored to be with you and have you with us tonight. This is my grandfather. As a Holocaust survivor, I firmly believe I have a moral obligation to the 6 million who perished to recount my own experience during that dark period of history. We must ensure that the truth be known and remembered so that present and future generations prevent anything similar from happening again to any group of people. Now we are faced with the reality that we are aging. This was in 1994. And our numbers keep diminishing. We must therefore live up to our responsibility and challenge anyone who tries to deny or distort the historical truth of that period's events. We will begin with a theater piece from the play Anatomy of a Trauma. The piece is called Anatomy of a Trauma, written by Joan Da Silva, and it will be performed by 3 amazing teenagers. So we have Alana and Ayla and Ayla and Ava. I got it right the second time. We're so looking forward to that. Then we have our own Hirsch Alexander, who's going to play violin for us tonight. So Hirsch and Alana are Bethel members. We're very proud of both of you, and thank you for being here. So we have theater and then music, and then around 8 o'clock, we're going to move to prayer. We'll have an evening Mariv service with some extra memorial prayers specific to this moment. So to open us with a little bit of prayer as well, I want to invite Rochelle Bernstecker, who is going to read a prayer by Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, Lord Jonathan Sachs. And she is a trained docent volunteer for special select groups who come to see the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum, and also a Bethel member. And we're so grateful to have you open us with some prayer.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to say before I start this prayer that when Rabbi Megdal asked me, I was very touched to possibly participate in this prayer. How I could contribute. And so I did some research on the internet and came upon a prayer written by Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, who many of you may be familiar with, a very prominent rabbi from England. He was the chief rabbi, and not only a rabbi, but a theologian, a philosopher, and an author. And as it turns out, was also a trusted advisor of Prince Charles. So he was a very distinguished rabbi. And when I came upon this prayer that he wrote for Yom HaShoah, I thought, well, this would really be a a nice way to honor him and honor this Yom HaShoah. So thank you, Rabbi, for making this possible, and I will do my best to read this poem that he so beautifully wrote. Today on Yom HaShoah, we remember the victims of the greatest crime of man against man, the young, the old, the innocent, the 1.5 million children, starved, shot, given lethal injections, gassed, burned, and turned to ash because they were deemed guilty of the crime of being different. We remember what happens when hate takes hold of the human heart and turns it to stone. What happens when victims cry for help and no one is listening. What happens when humanity fails to recognize that those who are not in our image are nonetheless in God's image. We remember and pay tribute to the survivors who bore witness to what happened and to the victims so that robbed of their lives, they would not be robbed also of their deaths. We remember and give thanks for the righteous of the nations who saved lives, often at risk of their own, teaching us how in the darkest night we can light a candle of hope. Today on Yom HaShoah, we call on you, Almighty God, to help us hear your voice that says in every generation, do not murder, do not stand idly by the blood of your neighbor, do not oppress the stranger. We know that while we do not have the ability to change the past, we can change the future. We know that while we cannot bring the dead back to life, we can ensure their memories live on and that their deaths were not in vain. And so on this Yom HaShoah, we commit ourselves to one simple act, Yisker, remember. May the souls of the victims be bound in the bond of everlasting life. Amen.
Good evening. I'm Laurie Levy-Isambert, and I'm honored to be the producer of the short play you are about to experience, entitled Anatomy of a Trauma. We are honored to have the playwright here with us tonight, Joan Da Silva. Please stand, Joan. Tonight is the premiere of her theatrical work. Joan was 5 years old when she and her parents were forced to live in the Warsaw Ghetto. Subsequently, for her safety and survival, her parents placed her in 6 different Catholic homes. The play she wrote addresses the lifelong impact of that separation from her parents, and most intensely from her mother, during her formative childhood years. You've already met our cast, but I would like to introduce them again. They are Alana Snyder, whose family is a member of Bethel Congregation, Ayla Gerstenblith, who is a student at the Charles E. Smith Jewish Day School, and Ava Klugerman, a senior at Sandy Springs Friends School. Joan's play has been directed by Valerie Isambert, Valerie, both my daughter and a member of Bethel. Our combined effort tonight is to honor survivor Joan Da Silva and all the survivors of the Holocaust. The traumas of those years never leave them.
Anatomy of a Trauma by Joan Da Silva. The characters. Bremna is the remnant of the Jewish little girl who is not allowed to be, and as a result became shriveled and dysfunctional. She is represented in this play as a hump on Lona's back. Lona is the Catholic girl who, though she saved herself and Remna, endured great loneliness for the rest of her life. Lucky is the rational personification of Lona after many years of hardship and therapy. At this point in time, all three characters live together in one person. Scene: a bus stop facing a deserted road someplace in the United States. A woman named Lona, dressed in a long dark dress, is seated on the bench. A shawl covering her shoulders displays a small hump on her back. The hump is a child. Her name is Remna. Another woman named Lucky, dressed in an elegant knee-length skirt and well-fitting jacket, approaches the bench. Lona moves over to make more room for Lucky. After a while, the hump begins to move, and a child's wail is heard.
It's a child.
Yes.
Sounds like it wants something.
She gets restless.
What is her name?
Remna.
My name is Lucille, but my friends call me Lucky.
I'm Lona.
Maybe she'd like to suck on this.
She usually prefers her thumb.
Oh. How long have you been carrying your child?
She's not my child, but I've carried her for over half a century.
What a terrible burden.
One gets used to it.
Can't you take her off your back?
No! It would hurt.
Why?
She's attached.
Attached to your body.
Yes, like a growth.
You poor woman.
One gets used to it, and I've become attached to her as well.
Here, let me see if I can make it more comfortable for you.
Don't touch her!
I'm only trying to help.
I know.
Lucky resolutely gets up and walks over to look at the bus schedule, comes back and sits down on the bench. She stares straight ahead, then glances over at the hump.
Do you talk to her?
I'm afraid to. She can't talk and she has fits.
Well, I think that is disrespectful and unfair to you, who have given her a free ride for half a century. Can you at least shift her so that it's more comfortable for you?
But I don't want to disrupt her slumber. She might awaken and scream at me.
What? Scream at you, who have been so kind to her?
She screams because she can't talk.
Well, that is not your fault.
No, it is not my fault.
Lucky abandons the inquiry and pulls a magazine out of her purse and begins to read it. Then suddenly, she turns to Lona.
Well, whose fault is it that she can't talk? Why didn't her mother teach her?
Her mother had to leave.
Leave her own child?
Yes, it was imperative.
And the child screams at you.
She screamed at both of us, only now her mother is gone.
You mean gone, dead?
Yes.
And she was your mother as well?
Yes.
So you are her older sister?
No. She is the older one.
How is it that you are the younger one and can talk, and she cannot?
I took a different route. When our mother left, I knew I had to save us both. I saw that Remna was bewildered and standing there at a loss, and I said, "Come with me because I see a new direction." And she took my hand and tagged along, and I was in the lead and doing all the talking. And one by one, she began to forget her words. I learned new words by talking to many people, and I learned how to find new directions and made many friends. She began to forget more and more. She didn't eat much and got smaller and weaker, while I got bigger and stronger. Soon she became so weak she could barely walk, and I said, "Here, jump on my back and I will carry you." And I lifted her and I put her on my back, and we've traveled like this for over half a century.
How catastrophic! A mother must never leave her child.
She had no choice. She had to go into hiding separately from Remna.
Why is she moaning?
She knows we're talking about her.
And that disturbs her?
I can only assume.
And now you are a mother to her.
I take care of her, but she is more my mother.
This is very confusing, you know. Your mother had 2 children.
Yes, but she only gave birth once.
Oh, then you two are twins.
No! I told you, she is the older one.
You must mean she came out of the womb first.
She is 5 years older.
You don't have to get so upset about it.
I'm sorry. You see, when she was 5 years old, our mother left and I took over. I was Remna's idea. I was created out of her mind.
I'm still confused. You mean she became you?
It is problematic.
How do you mean?
Well, I can't make it out myself because if she became me, then how is it she is here now?
It seems she is here as an attachment.
But being an attachment doesn't make her me.
True.
Detaching myself from her would be like cutting off a limb.
But a limb is necessary. She is just a burden.
Piercing screams are heard.
Oh my God, what is happening to her? Did she hear me?
Let her scream, soon she will stop.
Screams are followed by heartbreaking moans and sobs, and then they stop.
What happened?
She can't endure separation or even the suggestion of it.
She sounded in agony,
She suffers greatly.
but she sleeps all the time.
She suffers in her sleep, and when she wakes, she endures agonies which drain her of her meager strength, and she falls into her despairing slumber again.
She has no peace either waking or sleeping. How awful! It's like being in hell.
She cannot reconcile herself to the loss of her mother.
She must disturb you greatly.
Yes, she sends me messages.
What kind of messages?
The kind she's been sending me all my existence. The only kind her mind knows how to formulate because her thinking capacity is never fully developed. If I hadn't stopped her development by taking the lead, she would be big and strong today, thinking clearly.
But, my dear, your explanation for what you did was sound. Her mother left, and you had to take over, or else you and Remna both would have perished.
Yes, it had to be.
Lona begins trembling and has trouble breathing. She moves away to the other side of the bench and covers her head with her shawl.
Lona, dear, what is happening to you?
I feel so scared when Remna sends me these messages.
She's sending one now? What does she say?
She always warns me. She's trying to make me think you're a dangerous person, and I'm not sure if you are or aren't.
What a predicament. Hidden from outside eyes?
Nobody would know if she gave her away.
Nobody would know if you gave her away.
I can't possibly give her away because then I would have no beginning and she would have no continuity. That's the pain I'm afraid of.
But even if she was the beginning, what can she possibly offer you now?
The connection to my mother.
This is very interesting because you were always attached to Remna. You never had a separate life of your own. And you say Remna created you just about the time your mother left.
That's true.
Baffling. So, did you know your mother?
I never knew her as mother. I only knew her as auntie. Before she left, she told Remna, "You are no longer a Jewish girl. You are a Catholic girl with a new name and a new set of parents. And from now on, I will also have a new name, and I will be your aunt." Remna liked this new plan. She thought it would be fun. She tried to act on it, but she couldn't tolerate the loss of her mother, and she began to perish from loneliness. And that's when her will to live created me.
Amazing story.
Yes, I sprung into life fully formed.
It is hard to believe that someone who had such a powerful idea could become so small and shriveled.
I saw Auntie several times over the course of the war, but she thought she was talking to Remna. She didn't know Remna had created me, and I was Lona, She didn't realize Remna had become dysfunctional. After the war, Auntie told me I could call her mother again. She didn't realize I had never called her mother. I also developed nice feelings for her. I now had a mother, but Remna could never adjust to the new world. She continued to pine for mother.
But her mother was there.
But your mother was there.
Yes, but she continued to pine for the mother who for 2 years wasn't there.
Strangely frightening. She yearns for her mother, yet her mother is there. It is a tragic phenomenon.
A most tragic phenomenon.
Both women sit stiffly and stare at the sidewalk in front of their feet.
Please, Lona, continue. I'm sorry to have interrupted you.
So again, I continued to grow and flourish, but I was not to be let off lightly for my trespasses. Remna stuck to me like glue. She would send me messages during the day, and when she didn't, she would communicate freely with me at night. Since our dreams needed no words, she would fill me with all her feelings, and I would awaken distraught. The dreams continued to be our main source of communication to this day. As the years went by, I, who always had expectations of myself because I was used to being in the forefront, had difficulty achieving my goals. Remna sensed an assertiveness about me, and she began to throw obstacles in my course. Maybe she thought I was getting too independent and might leave her. She would send me fearful messages that filled me with anxiety and made me unable to function. She would trip me up mercilessly, so I began to get physically ill. She had a barrage of fears that she had accumulated during the war, and one by one she would throw them at me. The anxiety in me mounted so that I feared I would come to a standstill. For years, I fought against her until finally I subdued her, and she stopped the onslaught.
Lona stops talking. She appears exhausted and cold as she hugs the shawls about her neck.
What a grievous denouement.
Grievous.
I see a bus coming. Which bus are you waiting for?
Seeker's Lane.
I'm taking the other bus. Here is my address and telephone number. Please call me. I will be happy to see you again and help in any way that I can.
I would be very pleased to see you again.
Remna emits heart-rending cries and sobs.
Why is she crying?
She cannot bear to be separated from anyone.
Don't cry, Remna. We will see each other again very soon.
The crying suddenly stops.
This is only a short goodbye.
Lucky exits the stage. Sounds of a bus coming to a stop, the door opening, then slamming shut. Lona exits the stage. Epilogue. Remna is the remnant of the Jewish little girl who was not allowed to be, and as a result became shriveled and dysfunctional. She is represented in this play as a hump on Lona's back. Lona is the Catholic girl who, though she saved herself and Remna, endured great loneliness for the rest of her life. Lucky is the rational personification of Lona after many years of hardship and therapy. At this point in time, all three characters live together in one person. End of play.
We're going to do a little scene change, but while we're doing that, thank you. Another really round of applause for this entire team. So Lori Assember, beautiful production. Joan De Silva, beautiful play. Thank you. And I'm going to think about this for a second and get it right. Alana, Ayla, Ava, Yasher Koach, thank you for bringing these stories to life. So now we have Hirsch Alexander on the violin.
Thank you all for coming tonight in remembrance. Even in the depths of the depravities of the Third Reich, Jews found comfort in music. When their instruments were confiscated and burned, they still had their voices. Yet, when their voices were silenced, their songs were not silenced. The songs survived to comfort future generations. 4 songs that speak to the sadness as well as to the resilience of the Jewish experience will be played, one right after another, with just a brief pause between each song for reflection. First, Eli, Eli. Second, Paperosen. Third, Ofen Ripitjik. And fourth, Schindler's List. But just as hope sprang out of the horrors of the Holocaust, it seems important to close with a song whose very title means hope, Hatikva. At the end of the evening, please stand as you are able and feel free to sing these words of hope. The first song, Eli, Eli, or My God in Hebrew, begins with lyrics from the Book of Psalms. The Ukrainian-American musician Jacob Sandler composed the tune in 1896 for a scene in an operetta in which a Jewish woman is crucified for her beliefs. The lyrics start, "Oh my God, why have you forsaken me? In fire and in flame they have burned us. Everywhere they have shamed and have mocked us." The second song, Papyrosen, or Cigarettes in Yiddish, was written in 1922 by Herman Yablokov after watching children trying to survive by selling cigarettes during the pogroms in his hometown in Belarus. In part, the lyrics read, "I gather crumbs to eat in the old market. A hard bench is my bed in the cold park. And there are also the police who beat me with their swords, with the edges. My pleas and my cries are of no use." The third song, Ofren Britichik, or On the Hearth in Yiddish, was published in 1920 by the Ukrainian lawyer Mark Warshawski. The lyrics concern a rabbi trying to instill love of Hebrew and of Torah in his pupils, all the while recognizing in his heart the pain that this love will bring. The song states in part, "On the hearth the fire burns, and in the house it is warm." And the rabbi is teaching little children the Aleph Bet. "When you grow older, children, you will understand by yourselves how many tears lie in these letters and how much lament. The fourth song is the theme to Schindler's List. In 1993, the American composer John Williams was inspired to create this song after seeing the first cut of the movie by the same name. Although Williams is not Jewish, Williams was stirred to write a song that touched the Jewish soul. He envisioned the theme as a solo for the violin, perhaps the quintessential instrument associated with the Jews of Europe. The music was recorded originally by the Jewish violinist Itzhak Perlman, who was born in Tel Aviv on August 31st, 1945, not quite 4 months after the unconditional surrender of the Third Reich on May 7th, 1945. Tikva. Rabbi.
Thank you so much to Hirsch Alexander for your neshama that comes through in who you are and through that came through tonight in your music. Thank you so much. We're going to start with Mariv in just a couple of minutes. But first I want to Enya Winter.
Thank you, Rabbi. Good evening. My name is Enya Winter, and you can see by my accent, I'm not American. I was born in Uruguay, South America, and married my husband, Rabbi Winter, and we came to live in the United States. I'm a child of survivors from both sides, okay? But I wanted to let you know how different was the life of all these survivors who came to South America. I think in America was different. My mother did escape a ghetto when she was 10 and her sister 12. The father, who lost the mother of my mother, they were raised by the grandmother. The grandmother stayed, but give money to a person to take him for 6 months or 8 months because they didn't think this was going to be like that. And this guy did feed him. But after 2 months that the guy didn't come, they needed to escape. That they escaped and they arrived, they walked from Poland until Italy. They walked for almost 10 months, and I always used to laugh, did have a good time because on my birthdays she used to play that she used to steal things, and the children who were, look for the steal that she did, but that is what they survive like that. My father too. But one thing that I learned that for the life that I live in South America was all my life until I married my husband, the idea of the survivors was never to forget. And every time they did have a party, they talk only about that, and the uncles and aunts and families with only survivors because we're not family. My mother and her sister, she was 10 and 12, they walked, and in Rome, they went into a boat and they arrived in Uruguay. When they arrived in Uruguay, and there were 12 children that went into that boat, they said if they don't have family, they will take them back to Europe. And a very gentleman, a very nice man, picked them up and said, no, they're my nieces and nephews. And they said, we don't know him, but they did get, and they survived until that. But one thing that we learned, and I'm going to be 75, the idea of the surviving the ghetto, surviving the camps, and everything was taught every day. We grew up like that. I have friends here because my husband and I have been in different positions, but who were children of survivors, and we always talk about the same thing, how we were raised. The idea of race was that there was not my kin, all the love that we have now, like with the children or the grandchildren. No, they was very like that because they want us to grow and not to have this sensation. I remember that my mother died 30 years ago. She was very young. She was 68 years old. And the one thing that she told me, never, I don't know if you understand Yiddish, never veina delevai, because we only ought to speak Yiddish, because life continues. And that was very, very difficult to understand. I married my husband, who my parents, my in-laws were there in Germany. And in Uruguay, when we came, or my parents came and his parents came, was very difficult because the people who came from Poland didn't mixture the people who came from Germany and from Hungary. They were completely separate, completely separate. I met my husband because my father-in-law, who was a rabbi, we invited him to speak to 300 people or children. We were 17 and 18, because why we couldn't marry another Jew? They were Jews. They were no different, but they didn't want us. And the only rabbi who accepted that to come and talk was my father-in-law, but he called me 2 weeks before and he said, I'm sorry, I cannot make it, I have a wedding. I said, but Rabbi, I called you 6 months before. Why cannot you come? He said, don't worry, I sent my son. And he sent the son, and at that time, I was going to go to La Sorbonne and in France to study the Dead Sea Scrolls, but You know, my parents didn't agree because going at 18 without marriage was impossible. That we went out 2, 3 times, and both the Polish congregation and the German congregation started to talk, and they said to us, "That's it, no more. You can't go out with her." And to him and to me, "You cannot do that. That's terrible. What do you mean you are going to do that?" That after a few things, my parents took me to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said like that, "What if your future husband wants to do?" And first he told me how terrible what I did to them, and to bring a husband like that. And after I told him,
I'm sorry, we have to start Marif soon. I don't want to cut you off.
no, 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 yeah, okay, that after 5 years that I waited for him to finish the rabbinate, I waited, and after I did have the permission to marry my husband. But I must say to tell you, and with that I tell you, that still in Uruguay until today, is always talk about when we go and we go to see, well, our parents don't live anymore. They still like that. But my family calls me, my cousins, and we talk about the same thing. Didn't change the world there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for being patient. We're going to start Marif. So there's a siddur in front of you. It's a maroon color. It's a short evening service, and we're going to add some memorial prayers for Yom HaShoah. Jonathan Shemai Drelek has graciously agreed to lead us this evening.
Page 137. והוא רחום יכפר עוון ולא ישחית, והרבה להשיב אפו ולא יאיר כל חמתו, אדוני הושיע המלך יעננו ויום קראנו. ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך המבורך לעולם ועד. You may be seated. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך המשיח. אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב הרבים, אהבת עולם בית ישראל, ואבטחה אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Adonai Elohechem Emet, middle of page 139. ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם, משה בני ישראל, לחנו שירה בשמחה רבה, ואמרו כולם, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקיים לפני משה, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדרנו את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גא ישראל השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו ולשלום. ושמור את צאתנו, והיינו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם, ברוך אתה אדוני, שומר עמו ישראל לעד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המלך בכבודו, תמיד ימלך עלינו לעולם ועד, ועל כל מעשיו. גדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, גמל דברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי לכל בית ישראל. בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו, אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם לעולמי עולמיה. ברח וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי לקודשה ברכו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעולמה וימרו. The silent Amida continues page 142.
Please continue if you're not finished. If you'd like to add a personal prayer, on 145 there's a special edition for Yom HaShoah. It ends, "The waters engulfed us, our tormentors fed us bitter poison. Alas, we are undone, for our source of comfort is yet far off. Recalling these things, I weep, but you will not forget us eternally. Ach lo lenetzach tishkachenu. We'll continue with the full Kaddish 149.
ירב יקרא שמי רבה, ועמד דברה קירותי והמליך מלכותי בחייכון ובחייך בישראל, בגלה בזמן קריב ואמרו, אמן יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם לעולמי עולמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה, ברכו לאלה מכל ברכתה ושירתה שפחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה ואמרו, אמן תקבל צלחון ובהון דכל ישראל, קדם ובהון דבישמיה, ואמרו, אמן יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו, אמן עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו, amen.
We'll now stay standing as we're able. We're in the bottom of 200. We'll now hear an El Maleh Rachamim, which is a prayer when we ask God, a God full of mercy, to keep the souls of those we've lost tied up with our lives, to keep us connected. This is a prayer that we say at funerals. We also say when we visit cemeteries. We also say for Yizkor 4 times a year. This is a special El Maleh Rachamim for those we lost in the Shoah.
El Maleh Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hametzeh Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanafei HaShechina, B'ma'alot Kedoshim Utehorim, Kezohar Harakia Masirim, Lenishmot Kol Acheinu B'nei Israel, Shnitbechu Bashoah. Anashim, Nashim Vatov, Shenechneku, Veshenisrefu, Veshenehergu, Shemasru et nafsham al Kiddush Hashem, Began Eden Tehi Menuchatam, Ana Bal Harachamim, Hastirem Besetek Nafecha Leolamim, Utror Bitror HaChaim, Et Nishmotehem. Adonai hu nachlatam, v'yanuchu v'shalom al mishkevotehem, v'nomar amen.
Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the souls of all our brethren who perished in the Shoah, men, women, and children of the house of Israel who were slaughtered, suffocated, and burned to ashes. May their memory endure and inspire deeds of charity and goodness in our lives. May their souls thus be bound up in the bond of life. May they rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. It's okay, I can hold it. We'll now turn to the next page, 201. This is a Kaddish, a mourner's Kaddish, that has the names of some of the camps woven into the text. So if you want to join me, if you want to listen, they can be hard to pronounce. It's an unusual rhythm, so it's okay to just listen. 201. Yitgadal, Auschwitz, V'yitkadash, Lotz, Shemei Rabbah, Ponar, Ve'alma divira kirute babiyar, Ve'yamlich malchute Maidanek, B'chayechon uvyomechon birkanau, Uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, Kovno, ba'agala uvizman kariv janauska. V'imru amen. Yehi shemei rabbah mevarach le'alam u'le'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach Theresienstadt. V'yitpa'ar v'yitramam Buchenwald. V'yitnaseh v'yithadar Treblinka. V'yit'aleh v'yithalal Vilna. Shemei de Kudisha Bergen-Belsen. Berichu le'ela Mauthausen. Min kol birchata v'shirata Dachau. Tushbechata uvenechemata Minsk. Da'amiran be'alma Warsaw. Ve'imru Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. Ve'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imru Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imru Amen. Can now be seated. Psalm 23 is on page 97.
Mizmor leDavid, Adonai ro'i lo echsar, bino deshe yarvitzeni, al me menuchot yinahaleni. Nafshi yeshovev, nafshi yeshovev, Yancheni v'magle tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech b'geit salmavet lo irara ki ata imadi Shivtecha umishantecha, Shivtecha umishantecha, Hema yenachamoni, Taroch lefanai shulchan, Taroch lefanai shulchan, Taroch lefanai shulchan neged zorerai Dishanta v'shemen roshi Dishanta v'shemen roshi Dishanta v'shemen roshi Kosi revaya Achtov v'chesed yirtefuni kol yemei chayai v'shavti beveit Adonai V'shavti beveit Adonai liorech yamim Yadai dai 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 Yadai dai 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 Yadai dai dai Yadai dai dai Yadai dai dai dai. We'll count the Omer, page 152. Today was the 12th day of the Omer, and we'll make the bracha together for the next day. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat haomer. Hayom shlosha asar yom shehem shavua echad v'shisha yamim laomer. Page 150. Aleinu, please rise. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. Psalm for Monday is on page 86. You may be seated. Hayom Yom Sheni B'Shabbat Shabbat Yolavim. Ki ze Elohim Elohei Olam va'ed hu yinageu almut, page 151, Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, bi'alma divra kirute v'yamlich machute, b'chayechon u'v'yamechon u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach Le'alam Ul-Olmei Almaya. Yitbarach Vishtabach Vitpa'ar Vitromam Vitnase Vitadar Vitale Vitalal Shmei de Kudsha Berichu Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata Tushbechata V'Nechemata Damiran Be'alma V'Imru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shmaya V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Thank you so much to Jonathan and to everyone who made tonight possible. It means a lot that we're here, and I really believe that we make their memories a blessing by continuing to show up. So I'll see you next year. Zichronam livracha. May their memories be for a blessing. Thank you so much.